Good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna. Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the Prabhupada Disciples Association Saturday morning Bhagavad-gītā class. And we want to extend a warm greeting to all of our members globally in Australia, Italy, in California, in Trinidad, all throughout the world. Different people are coming to our classes to hear the unadulterated truth from His Divine Grace, our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Aprakrita in Montreal, good to see you this morning, everyone. We have so many wonderful regular people attending the classes, and it's very encouraging to see that because people want to learn the truth without any adulteration. They want to hear it as Prabhupada wanted to present it, and he so wonderfully did back in the early days in 1966 in New York City. If you recall, in our readings, Prabhupada arrived in New York on September 19th. He actually got off the boat and made his way onto the shore and continued to grow his mission for his spiritual master, A.C., our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. So it was a great task. He was by himself and really only had a few dollars. The story is an amazing story of accomplishment. And we all know about these, all different types of people in this world that achieve great things and through hard work and effort. Now, the significance of Prabhupada's success was he did it for Krishna. And that is something that is very unique in this world, is people that are focused on Krishna as their prime motive in life. Because everyone is enamored by the material world. They're enamored by material success. They're enamored by fame, profit, and adoration and distinction. But Prabhupada was not motivated for that. He was always a humble servant of his spiritual master, and that remained his focus throughout his career, his later career in North America here. And then subsequently, as he became successful in preaching Krishna consciousness, he started to travel. And he was on a constant, journey to spread Krishna consciousness globally. I was talking to my godbrother yesterday in California, and there was a discussion about the poison issue, that Prabhupada had been poisoned by some people. There have been books put out about it, etc. But the fact of the matter is that Prabhupada worked so hard and sacrificed so much of his personal energy in pleasing his spiritual master and serving the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Think about it. If you go on a trip, I know many of you travel, there's jet lag. Now, jet lag is a very difficult experience for most people from a health point of view. You get to a particular place, you've flown 12 hours, and you get off the plane and you're off balance. and it takes time to recover. Prabhupada was traveling. He traveled 11 times around the world, 11 times, and was on a constant program of preaching, putting on, attending festivals, and giving classes every day, going on morning walks. Absolutely. When he came to Toronto, I went to his room. He called me up. I still look back fondly on these moments in time where I had personal association with him. And there were so many people wanting to see Prabhupada in Toronto. And all kinds of engagements. Now, at the time Prabhupada came to Toronto, he had a toothache, a swollen tooth. So if you see the pictures in Toronto, his jaw was swollen. And so he was somewhat uncomfortable, let's say. And I still remember coming in the room, up on the second floor. We had an office we had set up for him. And I felt so humbled and, in a sense, intimidated to be in the room with him, just me and him. So I came to the door. I knocked gently, and Hari Sori let me in. I just stayed at if you've been to the Toronto Temple, you come in, at the back of the room, there's a large window, not stained glass, but a large church window. And Prabhupada was sitting up against the window in his Vyasasana, his asana. And the desk was there. And I came in. I just stayed at the back of the room, right by the door. I was afraid to come in and come up even close to the desk. And I paid my obeisances. And then I looked up. Prabhupada was smiling at me. And he was so happy that we had achieved this, what he called the topmost triumph for Krishna, that we had, our group, our entire group of devotees who were working very hard together, had acquired this magnificent church for him, which was now a temple. And there he was, celebrating with us at the 243 Avenue Road Street Temple. So I said to Prabhupada, I looked at him, I said, Prabhupada, I want to apologize for all the mistakes that we made. I won't go over them right now because we're at the beginning of the talk, but everything that we had done to prepare for his visit, we did. We made a complete mistake. How to set up the room and like that. Everybody worked diligently all night to rectify it. So in the morning when Prabhupada came out of his room, there's a separate room beside the office there. Everything was just fine and dandy. So I told him, I said, Prabhupada, I know that you're not feeling well. And there are so many requests for you to come to this place, to go here, to do this, to do that. And I just wanted to know how you felt, what your schedule, how you wanted me to handle your schedule for you. Because being the president of the temple, I was responsible for his program. Obviously, he comes to Toronto, someone has to organize the program. And he looked at me and he said, just organize the program and tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. That was as simple as it was. So Prabhupada was extremely humble and very committed to his service despite the difficulties that he was experiencing, whether it was physical or traveling. Prabhupada was 100% surrendered to the mission of his spiritual master and to Lord Chaitanya. And so we should take that as the example in our own practical lives, that if you want to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, follow in the footsteps of our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, and the amazing example that he set. I'm going to read one section quote from Prabhupada. He started at a very humble stage in New York City in the Matchless Gift store that they rented. And there were only a few people coming to the store in the mornings when he held class. Sometimes at the beginning there were 6 or 8 people. Gradually it increased as time went on through his dynamic preaching work. But here Prabhupada makes a very interesting comment. This was in April 12th, 1969. Srila Prabhupada, we don't want any numerical strength. We don't want any numerical strength. We want one sincere person who has learned to love God, Krishna. Just one. That's all. I have come to your country with this mission. And if I find 1 or 2 boys or girls sincerely have learned how to love God, Krishna, then my mission is successful. I'm not after any number of people. Because if I can turn one soul to this Krishna consciousness, he or she will do tremendous work. Just one. You see, he goes, he can do tremendous work. Ekas chandras tomohanti na cha tara sahasrasha. One moon is complete to drive away the darkness of night. One moon, not millions of stars required. What these millions of stars can do, one moon is sufficient. Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, he's personally encouraging each one of us to take up the banner of Lord Chaitanya and become that moon. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Venkat Prabhu in Bangalore, India, please bring on the Jayarada Madhava prayers, and we'll move forward with the Bhagavad-gītā class this morning here in the East Coast at 10 a.m. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Navadvip Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Navai ki jai. Navai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Vishnu Padaya.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shcham Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunathan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Brindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we'll be reading from Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, from the original 1972 Macmillan non-edited, non-adulterated version. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. We are reading from chapter 7, text number 20 on page 391. Kamesteste ritagnyanaha prapadyanti anyadevataha tam niyamamastaya prakritya niyataha svayam kame by desires, te by those, rita distorted, jnanaha knowledge, prapadyanti surrender, anya other, devataha demigods, tam that, niyamam rules, astaya following, prakritya by nature, niyataha controlled, svaya by their own. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender to the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Those who are freed from all material contaminations surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in his devotional service. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature. Because of approaching the right goal, they soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is free from all material desires, or is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, or is a pure devotee and has no desire for material sense gratification, he should in all cases surrender to Vasudeva and worship him. It is said in the Bhagavatam that less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take shelter of demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are in particular modes of nature, ignorance and passion, and therefore worship various demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided, because in Vedic literature, there are recommendations for worshiping different gods for different purposes. Example, a diseased man is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Lord think that for certain purposes, demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. But a pure devotee knows that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that only the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is master, and all others are servants. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhaya rachitumichati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadamyaham. Ya that, yam which, tanum form of the demigods, bhaktaha devotee, shraddhaya with faith, architum to worship, ichchati desires, tasya of that, achalam steady, shraddham faith, tam him, eva surely, vidadami give, aham I. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship the demigods, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to some particular deity. Purport by His Divine Grace. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as super soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the supreme father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all-powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Supersoul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad-gītā. Man should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such a demigod. For example, a diseased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati. And a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship the goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations in the Shastras, Vedic scriptures, for different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. And so he successfully received the benediction. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity towards a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because he is the Supreme Lord or the Super Soul who is present in the heart of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature, Taittiriya Upanishad, first Anuvaka, it is stated, the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Super Soul is also present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the supreme will. They're not independent. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Miritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadati Visheshataham Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Shri Rup Sanatana Bhattara Gunatam Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we see that after Lord Krishna, as described in a few verses, the various kinds of devotees who come to him between text number 16 and text number 19, now Lord Krishna is proceeding to a new topic, the worship of various demigods and why persons worship the various demigods. Anybody who is a little familiar with Vedic culture or who has been to India understands very well what we are discussing. Because we see that in India especially, there are so many persons who worship these various demigods. Now, in the Western countries, which mostly have been influenced by Judeo-Christian theology and Judeo-Christian practices, we do not have such a thing as demigod worship. Now we see Krishna is explaining here why people worship the demigods. Krishna says, Kamesteste ritagnyanaha prapadyante anya devataha, that those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender to the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own nature. Now, Prabhupada describes in the Ishopanishad purport that if one purchases a ticket to go, for example, from Calcutta to Delhi, he will not end up in Bombay. In other words, one will reach the destination, the specific destination of the ticket which he has purchased. Similarly, if one engages in the worship of demigods, he will achieve a certain result, but not the ultimate result of love of Krishna, of love of God. But why do people engage in this demigod worship? Because of material desires. We see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described, akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajante purusham param. That whether one has material desires or no material desires, or simply wants to be liberated from all material contamination, in all circumstances, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada is describing in the second paragraph towards the end that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is Krishna, and he is the master and all others are his servant. Ekal Ishvar Krishna Arsa Britya. Britya means servant. All living entities are servants of Krishna. Therefore, we see that those who are engaged in the path of bhakti, seriously engaged in the path of bhakti, they do not engage in this worship of demigods because they know that ultimately, simply by worshiping Krishna, all the demigods are also worshipped automatically. Prabhupada gives the example in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, just like if you water the root of a tree, then the entire tree is nourished. You don't need to independently water each branch, each twig, each leaf, each flower. No, it doesn't work that way. So similarly, by worshiping Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without any personal motivation, then automatically one satisfies the root, Krishna. Now, the problem is, in India, they have this concept of Hinduism. Now, the problem with this word Hinduism, as Prabhupada has often described, you will not find this word Hindu in any of the Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not there. This particular word came about when the Muslim invaders from the Middle East came, and before they cross into India, they have to cross the river Sindhu. And in the Arabian and Persian language, they do not have that syllable sa, so they call it Hindu. That people on the other side of the Indus River, they call them Hindus. We see in the Shastra, according to Sanatan Dharma, that one can bring these 7 sacred rivers, Gange cha Yamune cheva, Godavari Saraswati, Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalismin Sandidim Kuru. It is common for Brahmanas and Vaishnavas to bring the sacred water of the 7 holy rivers of India within the water at the time of taking a bath, the time of doing achaman. So this river Sindhu, which is now in Pakistan, the people on the east side of that river, the Muslims used to call it the Hindus. But this term is not found in the original Shastras. Now, by the time of Lord Chaitanya, we see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavata, 2 of the principal biographies about the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that this term Hindu was being mentioned. But in the original Shastra, it is not there. So the problem we have in India is this demigod worship. There's no need for demigod worship. Just like if one understands the position of the king, there's no need to worship individual ministers. Simply one has satisfied the king. So like that, if one satisfied Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then everything is satisfied. All the demigods are happy. They are automatically satisfied. So somebody may say, well, why do they worship these demigods? Well, Krishna explains. We see that in the text number 21, Krishna explains nicely. As soon as someone desires to worship the demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to some particular deity. Because of that desire for material sense gratification, impelled by the mode of passion and ignorance, people worship the demigods. But the demigods and Krishna are not all the same. This is confusing. This is the result of confused, bewildered intelligence to think that all the gods are the same. No, they're not. We see in the Bhagavad-gītā in chapter 7, we just read a few weeks ago, chapter 7, text 7, Matta parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. That there is no truth superior to me. We also see in Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 10, text number 8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. That I am the source of everything. There are so many references. Everybody is familiar with this verse, which Srila Prabhupada used to often quote from the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, text 1. Ishvaraha parama Krishnaha sachidananda vigraha anadi radir govinda sarvakarana karanam. That Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. His body is made of Sachidananda, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. He is the source of everything, and he is the cause of all causes. This is the definition of God. He is the cause of all causes. He has a person, he has a body, a transcendental body. So this is the reason people who are bewildered by sense gratification, who do not understand the position of the Supreme Personality of God, they worship the demigods for these temporary material benefits. Prabhupada once gave a lecture, and he stated, to go to the demigod for worship, to go and to request these benedictions, this is like going to a king, and the king tells the beggar, I'll give you whatever you want. And the beggar tells the king, oh, I just want a handful of ashes. So this is like that. Krishna can give one any benediction. Any benediction can be given because he owns everything. He controls everything. We see in the teachings of the Vaishnava-acharyas, we have read this several times, that the most exalted devotees, they do not pray for material sense gratification. They do not desire personal benefit. We see in the Shikshastakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has exemplified this perfect devotional mentality. Nadhanam najanam nasundarim. Kavitam va jagadisha kamayat. I do not want any beautiful woman. I do not want any wealth, any followers, or to be a famous poet. Well, what do you want? Mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatad bhaktirai tukitvayi. That birth after birth, I simply want to be engaged in your service. This is a very exalted devotional mood. Those who are worshippers of demigods, they are praying, or give me this, please give me that. I want this, I want that. I want a beautiful wife, a very nice, handsome husband. I want some wealth, a beautiful son, a beautiful daughter, very nice education, sense gratification. But this is the root cause of all conditioning. This constant material desire, kankshati. Kankshati means to hanker. Constant hankering leads to sochati, lamentation. Constant hankering and constant lamentation. If we look and analyze the constant cycle of news all over the world, is these two basic principles: constantly hankering for sense gratification, and all the bad news about lamenting that I did not get this kind of sense gratification, this particular group, this particular family, this particular country, this particular area has had some problem, all kinds of lamentation, hankering and lamentation. One has to go beyond that. Well, how to do that? Brahmabhuta prasannatma nasochati na kankshati. Samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labati param. One has to engage in the process of bhakti yoga, the process of linking, of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is not very difficult. Prabhupada has given the formula. The formula is simple. Bhaktivedanta Thakur has written a song called Nadia Godrumi Nityananda Mahajan. Our Lord Nityananda went to Godruma, close to Mayapur, and within that song, he describes Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna Shiksha, Aparad Shunya Hoy Laha Krishna Na. That one should take to the chanting of the name of Krishna, avoiding all aparads, and engage in chanting and worshiping Krishna and following Krishna's instruction, Koro Krishna Shiksha. This is the message of great acharyas, of great pure devotees, like Srila Prabhupada, following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if one does that, there is no need of worshiping demigods. No need of worshiping demigods. Demigod worship is impelled by the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. Worship of Krishna is impelled by following in the mode of goodness. And this is the standard. Because these benefits that one gets from the demigods are temporary. They're very temporary. The demigods are just agents of Krishna, simply for the maintenance of the universal world. Just like I keep saying that here in California, not just here in California, everywhere, there are so many weather disturbances. Recently, we heard how in Turkey, close to the Middle East, there was a big, massive earthquake, and so many people died. Here in California, there is so many disturbances due to the weather. Big floods, constant rain, big snow, consecutive snowfall for 12, 14 days in a row. all kinds of disturbances. And like that, on other parts of America, there's all kinds of flood, too much water. We see in some places it is extremely cold. Some other places it's very, very hot. This is the material world. And no amount of worship of demigod is going to help solve that situation. One has to intelligently ascertain the problem. Just like several years ago, there was a big accident in a big building in America. So what they had to do is get a group of engineers, construction engineers, structural engineers, to ascertain what went wrong in the design of the building. Some of the floors fell and some people died. So they had to get some construction engineer, structural engineers to find out what was the original mistake, so they would not make the same mistake again. So in this material world, we have to ascertain why we are suffering. Why we are suffering? Because of misuse of our independence. We keep giving this example. If a person misuses independence and breaks the law and engages in criminal activity and ends up in jail, he can't blame the government or why the government created this jail. I don't have my freedom. I don't have my independence. I can't do what I want. Well, you've misused your independence. You engage in criminal activity, and this is the result. The government doesn't like spending so much money in the jail and the prison system, but they do, because they know there will always be a class of people engaged in criminal activity. Similarly, in the material world, there is always this rebellious attitude of going against the order of God, against the order of the scriptures. So one has to submit to the authority of the personality of God and follow his instructions. That's why we have these various regulative principles and the guidance of the sacred scriptures, so one can come out of this entanglement of the material world. Hare Krishna. Vishwakarma, would you like to comment?
Thank you, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for your explanation of this. These two verses in the Bhagavad-gītā. I wanted to, for everyone to refer back to the text 21, and very interesting point about independent free will. Everyone has that opportunity to decide what they want to do whenever they want to do it in this material world. They have independent free will. So Prabhupada here, down in the purport on 393, as the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. So independent free will is everyone's gift. Some may ask why the all-powerful Lord gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the material energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Supersoul does not give such facilities, there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad-gītā: man should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. So this independent free will is the key to making advancement in spiritual life. Making the right choices, not the wrong choices. And most times in the material world, people make the wrong choices, not the right choices. It's only by the guidance of a great teacher that you can figure out how to solve your problems. And in this particular case, we're very fortunate that we have the direction of a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, in these matters. Now I want to read another series of quotes based on man proposes, God disposes. Here again, independent free will of the living entity to desire, and Krishna, whether it's worship of the demigods or within the heart, Krishna reveals or allows the living entity to do what they think is right for themselves. So man proposes, God disposes. Akrura replied, "You, Kamsa, should maintain equilibrium, for the result of your activities may be fruitful or may not be fruitful. After all, man proposes, God disposes. As it is said, man proposes and God disposes. But when the Supreme Personality of God proposes, that desire is under no one else's control. He is absolute. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning of the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire, that of the living entity, as he deserves. Man proposes and God disposes. The individual is not, therefore, omnipotent in fulfilling his desires." This is from the Bhagavad-gītā in the purports. "Everyone is at liberty to desire as he likes, but the desire is fulfilled by the Supreme Lord. Everyone is independent to think or desire, but the fulfillment of one's desire depends on the supreme will. This law is expressed as," it's a law, everyone, "man proposes, God disposes. He, Krishna, fulfills the desires of others. Man proposes and God disposes. If Krishna had any desire, he would be imperfect, for he would be lacking something. Therefore, he says that he has no desire to fulfill. In all circumstances, we must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and depend completely on his decision. Man proposes, God disposes. It is said, thus a person may desire many things, but unless these desires are fulfilled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot be fulfilled. Man proposes, God disposes. Suniti, the mother of Dhruva Maharaj, agreed with her co-wife's advice that Dhruva engage himself in the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever desire he will fulfill, although he says that this kind of material desire will never satisfy you. But we want, therefore God supplies us, Krishna, different types of material bodies. So this is something that we have to concentrate on in terms of our daily sadhana. To control, desire flows in constantly. It's the mind is very weak, let's say. Like, for example, your mind may wander back to when you were a teenager. You're thinking, oh, I remember when I was a teenager, I had all that. Now, I ask myself, why am I thinking about that? Why do I think about these things in the past? All this material contamination that I had, when I'm trying to make advancement in spiritual life. What is the reason? Well, we're filled with these desires, and the process of devotional service is to eliminate them from us, to purify us, so that the water is pure, but with the mud it becomes foggy. It has to be purified. So Prabhupada used that example. To clear the consciousness of the mind, one has to apply himself to the process of sadhana bhakti, to devotional service, to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra every day, to the different rules and regulations, and curb these material desires which keep bothering us as we move forward in our desire to go back home, back to Godhead. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, could you comment, please?
This is a very important point, how to learn how to desire properly. I think most devotees are familiar with a little book that Prabhupada wrote called Easy Journey to Other Planets, where His Divine Grace describes the various destinations that one can reach by different types of worship. In other words, if one engages in the worship of various demigods, one can reach other planets where the demigods live. If one engages in the worship of Krishna, one can reach the planet where Krishna lives. It's interesting. We have a lecture from Srila Prabhupada in New York on October 12th, 1966, New York, USA, October 12th, 1966, where Srila Prabhupada describes this exact point. He says, so as it is not impossible with a certain type of qualification to enter into different types of planets, similarly, you can enter into the planet where the Supreme Lord also there. That is also possible. You'll find in the Bhagavad-gītā, Yanti deva vrata devan pitrun yanti prativrataha bhutani yanti bhutijya yanti madhyajino pimam. Those who are worshiping, qualifying themselves to enter into the higher planets, they can enter into the higher planets. Those who are trying to qualify themselves to enter into the Prithvi planets, they can enter there. Similarly, those who are trying to qualify themselves to enter into the planet of the Supreme Lord, they can also enter there. So this process, Krishna consciousness, is to qualify ourselves to enter into the planet of Krishna, which is known as Goloka Vrindavana. Now, we've got description of that planet, because anything, if you want to understand, you have to hear, first of all, just like before my coming to your country, I had some experience by hearing, America is such and such, New York is such and such. Somebody might have gone there and he explains that. The climate of New York is like this. So this is by hearing. So hearing is the first experience. Similarly, if you want to get experience of the planet where God lives, then you have to hear. There is no other way. You cannot immediately make experiment. That is not possible. You cannot make experiment even on this material planet. You have no knowledge what other planets are, but you can hear from a description of the scriptures. Similarly, we've got experience by hearing from authorized scriptures, the Krishna Loka. Chintamani prakara sadmashu kalpabriksha laksha vriteshu surabhira bhipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra shata sambhrama sevyamanam govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. So these are the descriptions of the Krishna Loka. There are many books, especially this book, Brahma Samhita. There is description. So Chintamani Prakara Sadmashu. There the houses are made of touchstone. In this way, the trees and the cows, they're all what kind they are, what is their quality, and what profession is engaged. Everything is there. So now here in the Bhagavad-gītā, the Lord Krishna says that Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. There are so many transcendentalists. That means those who are trying to realize the supreme absolute truth. There are many different kinds of spiritual process. So they have been analyzed into three groups. Although there are many, still they have been put into three groups. What are they? The first are the impersonalists, Brahmavadis, impersonal Brahman. Just like the same example, in the sunshine, your eyes are dazzled. You do not see. If you go little over this planet, Earth planet, by aeroplane, and if there is full sunshine, you don't see anything except sunshine. But that does not mean there is nothing beyond sunshine. But my eyes are dazzled by the sunshine. Just like during daytime, you do not find the stars due to the dazzling sunshine. But you don't think that because you do not see the planets or stars during daytime, they are vanquished. There is nothing. No. Similarly, those who are trying to understand the absolute truth, they first of all realize that Brahma Jyoti. In the Bhagavad-gītā, you'll find about that. Brahma Jyoti, Brahmanaha Aham Pratishta, just like the sunshine. And in this way, Srila Prabhupada goes on describing the spiritual world and the transcendental atmosphere of Goloka Vrindavan. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Moving forward on this discussion of independent free will, I'm going to call upon our God brother Ram Raghava to make a comment on why the conditioned soul is constantly harassed by material desire. What is the problem? Ram Raghava, please.
He told me he may not be able to participate today. He might only be able to listen.
Oh, okay. Venkat, maybe you could make a comment then, please.
Sorry, what was the question?
The question is about material desire. How do we overcome these material desires and become free from them and move forward with the desire only to serve Krishna?
I mean, from what theoretically what I've read, it's by chanting and by following the process given by Srila Prabhupada, and practically also I can definitely see that there is this. It's not just imagination, because I can see changes, small changes in my own life as I'm chanting, because I mean there's still obviously a long way to go, but definitely there's some changes. So that gives me confidence that this process is bona fide, so yeah, that's what I think.
Excellent. Vijay Pandit in Italy, could you comment, please?
Well,
how to
Krishna.
overcome material desires to become spiritually fixed?
I have to take a big hammer, and it is called Harinam Mahamantra, and beat my head every day with my Mahamantra and practicing constantly sadhana, offering prasad, praying to Srila Prabhupada to go forward and that he give me his blessing to remain and be fixed in the instruction, in his instruction, because his instruction are coming from a transcendental world, pure. So I have to develop faith in the instruction of the spiritual master. In this way, slowly, also the material desires are going down. It takes time. I don't know. Time is Krishna himself. So I don't know how much time it will take. But if I hammer my head with the Maha Mantra every day and practicing the Krishna consciousness all my day, all my life, all the week, all the months, this will help me to slowly, how to say, suffocate the material desire. And the second is that I don't have to associate with this material desire. So if I have material desire in my mind, I have to say to Maya, well, personally, I say to Maya, I have no time for you. Please let me in peace. I have no time for you. But Maya is so clever and so sweet and so smart that she will find another way to explain you how Maya is beautiful, how the material desire are beautiful. So she will try again and again. And again, I have to say to her, I have no time. But sometime I'm so tired and she wins. What can I do? I have to go constantly, be constant in the instruction of my spiritual master, our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, and make from his instruction the faith that this will help us to destroy and the material desire. I don't know.
Yeah, excellent.
Maybe.
Yes, it's exactly the way it is. You have to beat the mind in the morning with a shoe and at night with a broom. So we have to constantly try to become better devotees. It is a daily effort that we make every day we get up. We're marching forward. We have Shama Sundar Das in Australia. Prabhu, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Please, if you could comment, how do we overcome material desires? Man proposes, God disposes. We want Krishna to bless us with devotional service.
Yes, Prabhuji. Well, first and foremost, we need to develop our attraction to Krishna, our love and our attraction to Krishna. Of course, that takes some time, but initially, that should be our first and foremost goal. But of course, we have to face our anattas in our heart, which is quite a daunting task. So as we embark upon the journey of Krishna consciousness, our sadhana, we have our faith that in association with devotees, we have the Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, yeah. So we develop some faith, we associate with devotees, and then we begin the process of anatta-nivritti. And I was personally quite shocked when I first came across Krishna consciousness. We always learned to just chant, dance, and be happy, and those early days seemed so simple and full of taste, and I always used to think, well, Krishna consciousness must be just around the corner. I'll just cook this next feast or engage in this next bit of book distribution, and surely pure love of God must be just around the corner. And it didn't come, and I started to wonder, how long does it take? And at that stage, I didn't know sort of too much, hadn't read so many books, but I came across this beautiful book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, where he outlines the process of devotional service from the beginning all the way through to Krishna Prema. And just a fairly small book, but it's a roadmap for outlining the journey and the stages you need to pass through and to finally get to that point. And after reading that, I realized, wow, okay, so I'm right at the stage of anatta-nivritti and have to soldier on through this stage. And I tried to sort of make a goal of, at least if I can get to the platform of Nishtha, of steadiness, then after that point, it should be more smoother rolling. But prior to that, which of course I'm still in the stages of anatta-nivritti, it's quite heavy hauling. And there's an example given of a combustion engine that when it's running, it puts off a lot of heat. So the amount of power that you get out of the engine compared to the amount of heat that it generates, it's quite a lot more heat than actual power you're getting. So that beginning stage of anartha nivritti is a bit like the combustion engine. You're burning up a lot of friction trying to progress, but you're not sort of getting so far. So the goal of loving Krishna and being attracted to Krishna, that's the most important thing. But getting there, one is confronted with these anarthas, which I'm quite shocked at how deeply rooted they are. And of course, I'm just dealing with gross anarthas, what to speak of name, fame, profit, adoration, and distinction, which I must say I don't look forward to coming to that point, but I kind of had this hope that maybe I don't have those subtle anarthas, but surely I do. But just dealing with the gross anarthas.
Yeah.
But loving Krishna and developing our attraction to Krishna, that will outweigh our attraction to the illusory energy, and bit by bit. And I think as we get a bit older, as our bodies get a bit older, it's quite helpful as well, because the passions and the desires, they calm down as well, which help us. We become more sober, more mature. So yeah, thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you, Prabhu, very much for your comments. Yes, overcoming material desires is very difficult, but if we stick to the process of Guru Shastra Sadhu, the association of the pure devotee, his books, and the association of other devotees, through that we can cross over the difficult ocean of material existence. It is quite an interesting opportunity for everyone here. Remember, and we're going back to this, we have independent free will. If we have a will to serve Prabhupada, if we have a will to propagate the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya under Prabhupada's guidance, then by the grace of the spiritual master and by the grace of Krishna, we'll become free from material desires. It's like filling up a cup. Prabhupada used the example, Prabhu, as you know, of a cup of milk. Now, if the milk cup is filled up to the top, then there's no chance of ink getting in. You can't add ink because there's no room. So like that, if we fill our life up with devotional service, if we fill our life up with the mission of Srila Prabhupada, I know it's difficult these days because we were so much used to the institutionalized form of service through ISKCON. But now being away, we have to refocus ourselves and position ourselves in life to carry on and fill the cup up with the mission of Lord Chaitanya in the association of all of us, and our opportunity to take up this service to please Srila Prabhupada. Jiva Goswami, I see you have a question or a comment. Please, Prabhu.
Yeah, my comment is to refer to Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 14.1, where it says that things that are very difficult to accomplish become easy to execute if someone somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become difficult. So this is my guiding light in terms of turning myself to Krishna. I just remember Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it really works every time. Thank you.
Okay, that's a great answer. Of course, if we always remember Krishna. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
That's a very good point by Jiva Goswami Prabhu, a very important point, because we see in our own activities and our own lives, if we remember Krishna, then immediately we get that energy from the spiritual platform. from the transcendental platform. Everybody has read in the Bhagavad-gītā that verse, Indriyani Paranyahur, Indriyabhya Paramanaha, how the soul is above the mental, physical, and intellectual platform. And when we connect with that spiritual platform and take shelter of the name of Krishna, the sound vibration of Krishna as given by our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and the instructions of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gītā, immediately we feel the transcendental energy. We feel, because this is the whole platform. The whole idea of Srila Prabhupada's mission is to connect people some way or other to Krishna, some way or other. Even though one may not be qualified, some way or other, connect with Krishna. And this is the difference between the material energy and the spiritual energy. And we have experienced this so many times, both during Prabhupada's manifested presence and afterwards, that sometimes Prabhupada would request devotees to do things which we thought were practically impossible. But by the spiritual energy, so many things got accomplished simply by following that instruction of Srila Prabhupada. That's why the chanting of Hare Krishna is so important. This is not just an intellectual process or an academic process. This is a transcendental process of connecting with the spiritual energy. Just like Prabhupada used to often quote this verse from the Padma Purana, how the name of Krishna is complete and is completely transcendental. And it says, Abhinatvam Nama Naminaha. The name, Nama, is non-different than the Nami, the person. The name of Krishna is the energy of Krishna. It's the transcendental presence of Krishna. That's why when we carefully do study of all these great acharyas like Haridas Thakur, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Baladevi Vidyabhushana, Vishwanath Chakravarti, the six Goswamis, the associates of Lord Chaitanya, what was the main character? They were always busy in chanting the name of Krishna and glorifying Krishna. And it's not difficult. Simply, we have to get a taste. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Going back to that point, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, of independent free will. This independence, this choice that you make is going on constantly in the mind. What we're going to do. This independence, if it's incorrectly exercised, Prabhupada has explained in this purport, it entangles us in the illusion of material life. So again, man proposes, God disposes. We have to train ourselves to understand how to carry out the spiritual instructions of our spiritual master. That is the road to liberation. That is the road to transcendence. It's the lotus feet of the spiritual master and his divine instructions that make the difference. This principle of Guru Tattva is the key to spiritual advancement. That surrendering process has to be there in the heart of the devotee. Prabhupada demonstrated it perfectly for us in terms of how he conducted himself coming to the West. It was all based on Bhaktisiddhanta's direction. That's why he undertook the austerity. That's why he stayed on through all kinds of difficulty with great determination. He stayed focused no matter what the hardship was, no matter what the difficulty was. He never forgot the order of the spiritual master. For example, Prabhupada ordered us, we should work together cooperatively. And in this way, you'll be able to demonstrate your love for me. That's an order. That is one of the key instructions of the pure devotee to all of us, because everyone is so independent. It's almost narcissistic. People think they know everything. No one is ready to accept association with other God brothers or God sisters. They're on their own. I'm so smart. I've read the books. I know this and that. You have to take this principle of purpose, what your purpose is, and combine it with the purposes of other God brothers and God sisters, and work in a cooperative manner. We've talked about this. Prabhupada used the example of sticks. When you bind bamboo sticks together, they become very strong. This is the problem now. Everyone is on their own. It's very weak, especially in the results of what has gone on in the ISKCON movement, and how many of us have been banished from that movement, and we were set on our way on our own to make it out, to make out, do the best you can. Now it's time to come together. Now it's time to re-energize, refocus on the mission of Srila Prabhupada. Any other comments from anyone? We're moving close to the end. Any more questions that you have? Yes, Jiva Goswami, or Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please. And then
I just
Jiva.
want to make a comment. That devotee that spoke earlier, Shyamasundar, he's in Australia in the Gold Coast, and he has a service. He distributes samosas, hundreds of samosas every day. He distributes, and he has a little stall in the mall somewhere, and he does wonderful preaching. Everything is offered to Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. And I just want to make this. It's a very wonderful service he's done for many years. He distributes books. He preaches every day, distributes the samosas. It's very, very impressive what he has done. Very nice.
Haribol, congratulations, Prabhu. I noticed you on the last talk, and then I realized that we should invite you in. Jiva Goswami, yes, brother.
Hare Krishna, my point is on, again, food, because my particular desire, material desire for most of my life has been to eat as much as I want in whatever form I want, and specifically sweets and flowery things. And so how do I control that? Well, I realize that Krishna is perfect. He doesn't need anything. However, when I prepare thinking of what Krishna wants, it allows me then to control my desire for material foods and material sense gratification. It's the offering that makes it go away. It's the thought of how can I create something that's going to be healthy for Krishna. You know, he's a young boy. He needs a lot of energy. What can I do to help him play with his playmates and run in the forest and take care of the cows? And when I do that, my hunger goes away.
Excellent.
Amazing.
Yes, that's what we have to do, is dovetail everything, all our desires, in the service of the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya. So it is 11:29 here in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We're going to move forward with the kirtan. I just wanted to let everyone know that after the class, which is over, we're going to carry on with a discussion today. We're going to discuss further about the situation in the ISKCON movement, of the deterioration of faith of its membership because of the abuses that have gone on, especially in the Gurukula system. Very tragic and very unfortunate. It's quite a big topic now online. Lots of revelations coming out from different devotees. And we're going to discuss that briefly. So that will be after the kirtan. If you want to stay on, you're welcome. Thank you all for attending the class today. We really appreciate your association. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's head forward with the kirtan, my friend Bhaktivedanta.
Krishna Lalita Sri Vishakhanitanushta Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Rama Hare Hare